Hi again. Next up, let's check out a set of student samples of the documents in the RNP message packet. Before we get to the three message type and different genres, we'll begin with the cover memo. I like to encourage students to use this cover memo as practice for creating parallel section and subheading structures, as well as the types of cohesive introductions, etc., like the structures and intro you might need to construct in your analytical report when you present the two alternatives and then have to compare and contrast them. With that in mind, I selected a cover memo and set of student samples that hopefully will help you gain some insight into not only the RNP message packet, but also encourage you to think ahead to your analytical report, as well as any other document where you have parallel information to present to an audience. You can see in the introduction of this memo that this particular student has created a completely cohesive forecast of the main first level heading sections which follow in the memo. Actually, you can see that in the first sentence that this writer has also utilized bold to contrast, highlight, and draw attention to the heading title. And so here the purpose of this memo is to present the three documents. And so we get routine positive message, and that's the first level heading. Negative message. If we scroll down, there's the next heading. And then we have persuasive message, and that's the last one. Next paragraph of the introduction here, though, is where you can see a good example of one way to handle introducing parallel subsections and thus eliminating the need to provide redundant section forecast intros in all three of the first level heading sections that follow in this particular memo. Let's read through this to see how the writer accomplishes it. In each section, I identify the case and rhetorical situation I selected to write each message as a response to. Next, I explain the section rationale behind choosing the cases. Finally, each section concludes with a discussion of rhetorical choices and strategies that I implemented. If we scroll down through these sections, what we'll find is that these three subsections that are forecast here by the writer in this introduction appear consistently in each one of the three sections that follow in a parallel manner. So we have routine positive message, and here we have case and rhetorical situation, selection rationale, see how it follows the same pattern, and rhetorical choices and strategies. Negative message, case and rhetorical situation, selection rationale, rhetorical choices and strategies. And you see the pattern here, okay? So this is what you can do to create one intro that takes care of an entire section of subsections. Now, that isn't always the best option, but sometimes it is if you don't want to repeat the same type of forecast three times. Now, as soon as you see this, this is kind of like a no-no, where you have two different heading levels without any text in between, and we'll get back to that. And so whenever you see this, you should ask immediately. The alarm bell should go off in your head, and you should say, what is going on there? Why do I not have text in between them? And why is there not an introduction that introduces this next level heading set that follows? And the answer should be that those things are already set up in a parallel fashion in a previous introduction. But if they're not, that's something that you need to go back and address and more than likely fix. Okay, now this approach that I just went over and showed you and that student followed is the classic way to do cohesive forecasts of parallel sections and the main heading level found within each one of them. It is also one of the only ways you should usually be able to justify not including, as I just said, the cohesive textual introductory section between two headings of different levels. Even so, depending upon the situational demands and conventions, writers often place a contextual overview in between two heading levels, such as the ones here, even if the content and section forecasts are taken care of in the main section introduction. Basically, from this second introduction paragraph, we know that each of the three main sections to follow will include the three sections mentioned in it. If we move to the next section, routine positive message sample section, the second level heading subsections in this section, as you can see, are fairly informative and usable from the perspective of your instructor. Remember to place yourself in the audience place and consider whether you can easily locate all the information you need to understand it, and so on. Here the writer has utilized bold again to help the reader locate the case and page numbers. Writers might also use another heading level or even an additional second level heading specifically for that information to accomplish something similar. So they could have something like, instead of case and rhetorical situation, they could have case, page, rhetorical situation, all as second level headings here. I wonder if the same technique could also be used in the selection rationale section to identify the chosen format. That said, this might be obvious on its own. For example, I have to read through this a little bit to see that this is going to be an email, and there might be a way to bring that to my attention much more easily. And then finally, the rhetorical choices and strategies section also is included here to provide the instructor with the important descriptions and explanations of the students' how, what, why, and where of rhetorical decisions and actions taken. Good. We scroll down to the negative message section. We see much of the same. There's more detail in this section, however, and as we'll find out, there's probably a good reason for that, because there's more content in this message than the first one, and that is most likely because negative messages tend to need to be more complex to achieve their purposes. Okay, and finally the persuasive section. So we can check this out. Ooh, I like this. This student uses an indent and some structural devices to clearly present how she or he applied the ADA system or the ADA model. Excellent. Okay.